All right. So we've made some beats. We've discussed the tempo, and now we've also discussed our time signature. We're back in 4/4, and so far we've just been working in 1 bar segments with our beats. So there's a lot more that we can do with our clip view, but let's just say that we want to make a beat that is longer than a bar. So right now we have our loop length, um, and it doesn't necessarily have to be looped, it's just the length of our clip. So we're going to go into this, and I want to change this to being 2 bars. Now, this position refers to kind of where we are in our MIDI scheme. And the way that Ableton um, rationalizes this time is 1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4. So again, it's like we're at quarter notes, and then we have 2. So this is our second bar, 2, 2.2, 2.3, 2.4. Sort of just how it maps it. And um, it's a nice way to think, but you need to know what it means. So again, so if we have our start, which is this first, sorry, I guess this is our second arrow. And then we have this, which determines our loop length. So again, in this thing, it's called our loop brace. Um, so there's a couple different things that we can do with this, and I'll explain that in a second. But so I can change this now to 3. I can change this to 4. If I start messing with the small numbers, we're going to get some interesting loop lengths. That's going to be like in the 16th notes and whatnot. So I like to keep these numbers pretty regular for the most part. So right now, my length is 4. So that would be a 4 bar beat. For right now, I just want to have it be 2 bars. Again, you can also change this by just dragging this our loop brace up here. Again, I'm getting this from the Ableton name. So let's make a 2 bar loop, and we'll keep it pretty simple. And actually, I'm just going to take this beat I already made, and I'm going to select all. I'm going to copy it. So I just click down here. Oh, no, that did not work. I want all of this. Copy and paste. There it is. Actually, so let's delete these first 2. So there we go. Now, what's nice about having a 2 bar beat is that we can get some nice variation. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to keep this kick drum pattern. And again, I'm going to use my duplicate function, which is Command D. And like I said, so if I'm in this sort of stretch area, this highlighted area, it's going to be that same length. If I'm not careful though, like say I want these claps and I don't go all the way to 2, they're going to be off. See how these are right on the beat and then these are right before the beat? So I can move them, or as long as you guys know that, again, see if I'm too early, it's going to do the same thing. So it duplicates everything, including the space. So now we're just going to have a little bit different pattern for this second beat. And I'm just showing you that it's nice to have some variation, and this is how we would go into having a little bit of a 2 bar pattern instead of a 1 bar pattern. Also, you can see you can zoom in and out here with our parts, and I can actually, usually we can zoom in and out of this, but so let's go ahead and give this a listen, then I'll talk about the different loop length. So right now, our loop is on, our bar is set to 2, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually just take this loop and we're going to make it into a 1 bar loop. Now you can see our playhead. Remember this first arrow we were talking about. So I want it to start over here, and then when we get to our second bar, it's actually just going to loop that part. So we can give this a listen. can make our loop even smaller if we want to. I'll show you what that sounds like. The other thing I can do is I can actually, because I have a 2-bar pattern, I can sort of start anywhere in here. Let's just go ahead and start. So I can adjust this. Okay, let's set this back to 1, 1, 1, 1. And let's say I want to start at 2. No, it's not going to let us do that. That's fine. So our end length, so if we don't have a loop, the end length is important because the end length will determine where the clip stops. So although I have all this MIDI information, this end will actually stop it. So I can play this beat, and that's where it stops. So that's what that means. But if you have the loop on, it's not gonna follow the end length, so you don't need to worry about it. All right, so there we go. We talked a little bit about clip length, clip position, our loop brace, how we can drag and change that. So yeah, there we go.